This is a brand new Giant Defy Advanced endurance bike which I've been riding for the last few weeks, and I think I might prefer it to my own personal Giant TCR Advanced, which until now I've been riding quite happily for the last 2 years. Have I gone crazy? Have I lost my mind? In this video I explain what I mean and share my first ride impressions of this brand new bike and why I think my future might be an endurance bike and not a race bike. So I'm David, you're watching Just Ride Bikes. Let's dive in. So I love the TCR. It's everything you want from a race bike. It's fast, it's agile, responsive, light, and the comfort is very good too, and a space for up to 32mm wide tyres. And endurance bikes like this are slow, lazy, and for old men with bad backs, right? Well, I don't think Giant's got a memo, because this bike is anything but. It's light, 7 kilos, as you see it here, without pedals fitted. And the geometry is really rather close to the TCR in some aspects, and definitely closer than other endurance bikes that are much more upright and much shorter for people who want that upright riding position. Now, if you want the full details on the new Defy, then I urge you to watch my first look where I went into lots of detail about the new bike a few weeks ago. I'll put a link to that down below and floating in the card up there. Watch that after this video and then you can see what the bike is all about. But now, let's get changed, go for a spin, and we'll talk about how the bike rides compared to TCR in a bit more detail. And straight away, the new Defy feels way less aggressive and less pointy than my TCR, a bike I've been riding for the last 2 years on all my local roads, so I know the roads really well. There's an extra layer of comfort and smoothness between me and the rough road surface. And even swapping the wheels and tyres between the two bikes, the Defy definitely has the edge. The handlebar, the seat post are doing their job to filter out all the imperfections in the road surface. For anybody who thinks an endurance bike is lazy and slow, well, ride a bike and you change your mind straight away, because there's nothing lazy or slow about this bike. I've been using it on all my local Strava segments that I know really well, and the speed is definitely there. If you are racing, the TCR Propel is a better choice. But for those people not actually racing, but buying race bikes and then lifting the stem with loads of spacers, this is arguably definitely a better choice. And even for me, I still ride race bikes and I like them slammed, but I'm not getting any younger. I think this might be a better fit for me, for the riding I'm doing. And what I'm getting in comfort and a more stable geometry, I'm not really losing in speed, fun and agility. It's still sporty as heck, but not as hardcore as a TCR. It's like you're riding a TCR and pressing the comfort setting on a handlebar, and it just softens up and just relaxes a little bit. Let's talk about comfort, and the bike is definitely smoother than my TCR, as I said earlier, but it's not as smooth through the handlebars as a Specialized Roubaix due to future shock, and it's not as soft in the saddle as a Canyon Enduro Race with that split seat post, and definitely firmer than both of the bikes, and far from the comfiest, softest endurance bike in the category right now. Smoother than the TCR, not as smooth as it could or should be. You can go wider in the tyres, of course. The space are up to 38. I'm running 32s at 50 psi, so maybe a wide tyre would give more comfort. Arguably, definitely would give more comfort, but there isn't a lot in the way of built-in features or gimmicks, as some people might call it, to add more compliance, like the Trek Demani with the ISO speed or the Future Shock from Specialized. The way they move the geometry much closer to TCR really surprised me when this new bike was unveiled, but it sort of makes sense. They had the Revolt gravel bike for that all-road comfort-focused person with fat slick tyres and a more upright position and a shorter reach. So moving the Defy closer to a TCR and boosting the tyre clearance and the comfort ensures it's still a road bike first and foremost. And yes, with some fat tyres you could ride some light dirt, gravel, but I'm not going to do that because here in the UK right now it's muddy as heck. So I'm sticking to the road, enjoying the comfort the bike is offering me from the tyres, the handlebar, the seat post, and the geometry. And yes, you could definitely replicate the fit of this bike on a TCR with a shorter stem and more spaces, but you can't replicate the geometry of the longer wheelbase and the slacker angles and the extra compliance the bike is offering. And taking a race bike and modifying in that way makes no sense. Just buy the right bike in the first place and enjoy it. I'm not even sure calling it an endurance bike is the right thing anymore. Maybe we need a new name, like road bike light or race zero or something like that, that implies that kind of race bike speed and agility and handling, but a bit softer, a bit more laid back, without being super upright and super short and cramped like some endurance bikes are. And then there's the weight. This top of the range bike, which is a lot of money and out of most people's budget, is 7 kilos. And that is race bike weight. And on the climbs, it really shows this bike is so fast on my local steep gradients. Endurance bikes are often bought by people doing sportives. And sportives often have a fair amount of climbing. So low range gears, which your bike has, and the lowest weight you can afford. That bike is definitely very, very light. Lighter than many race bikes, with even the same sort of price. So let's see how it copes on this 25% climb coming up. Because arguably climbing performance matters way more than aerodynamics on a bike like this. Knock it down to easier gear, settle in, spin to win. That's the easy bit before it gets really, really tough. Okay, onto the meter climb now, up to 18%, now to low 20s. Legs are really hurting now. The bike is performing so well. Stiff, loads of power transfer, light, good gear range, thankfully. Nice handlebar shape. Got a power meter on the cranks as well. Finally, mercifully, it levels out. I can see the top. A few other details. I like the shape of the handlebar. I'm so glad, so glad it's not a one-piece handlebar like on a Canyon. That for me doesn't make sense on a bike like this. Race bike, yes. Aero, definitely. Endurance, comfort, not really. So it's a nice shaped handlebar, kind of flattened across the top, loads of surface area for the palms of your hands. Nice grippy bar tape as well. Although I'm not really that bothered about internal cable routing, I must admit, looking down at the stem, it's nice not to see any cables or hoses flapping around in the wind. So nice handlebar, nice stem, and the saddle as well, not giving me any issues either. And we have a computer mount built into it, and some very nice bottle cages as well that came with the bike. So have I lost my mind? Well, I don't think so. If I could swap my TCR for this bike, especially this top level build, which I can't afford, I probably would. As much as I love my TCR, and I really do love that bike, this bike better suits the riding I do and the roads I ride on. More comfort, a bit calmer, but it still has that agility and responsiveness of a race bike when I want to ride fast, but when I don't want to ride fast, it's nice and smooth and really looks after me. I love the fact we have space for wide tyres, mudguard mounts, and that's it. I don't want my road bike to step on the toes of a gravel bike, which some, like New Roubaix, are, with extra mounts on the frame and that ability to fit a gravel tyre if you wanted to. This is very much a road bike at heart and very close to a race bike, as my riding comparison shows. But it's a clear difference from a race bike and a gravel bike, and that clear separation is something I appreciate about what Giant have done with the new Defy. And as I mentioned earlier, I am planning a group test comparison shootout of the new Defy and a few other bikes in the category, so definitely worth subscribing to the channel if you want to see that. But that's all for today. Let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below. Have I gone mad? Love to hear your thoughts as always. But that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all again very soon.